Hello, mamas. How are you doing today? Today I want to do a little bit of a standing series with you, but we'll start first on the floor. I'd like you to have 2 blocks if you have them and a blanket. And I always start with sitting on my blanket just to begin. And you can choose any seated position that you choose. I'm just choosing a little cross legs position, but feel free to always, if you'd rather, do soles of the feet together instead. Maybe just one position is too much, or you can always lengthen your legs long. It's really up to you just for this start. And we're just going to start first with some breath. And you can start by bringing your hands to your belly. And just kind of checking in here. So just noticing how we feel with our breath. And with this connection that we have with our baby. And maybe it's the first time you've really noticed your breath today. And hands to our bellies really lets us to be a little bit more connected. And before we begin, take a moment to thank yourself for making it here on your mat today. Sometimes we have to go through a lot to make time for ourselves, and sometimes that's a struggle. So if you struggled today, just know you're here, and it was all worth it. We'll slowly start to relax our hands down, and we'll lengthen our legs out long for a moment just because we've had our legs in one position for a moment, and it's good to kind of have something different. And let's point into the toes and flex into our heels, and we'll do this a couple of times. And just kind of continue how you feel good. And then we'll start first. We'll bend the knees a little bit, and we'll take the right heel and we'll start to shift it over here towards our right hip. So it's not going to be right up next to it. Mine's a couple of inches away. And then I take my left foot in, and we just find ourselves sitting up tall. So if you need to adjust your blanket, you're welcome to. If you don't need your blanket for this one, don't feel you need to have it there. And if this becomes uncomfortable, you can always go to another position. Seated works as well for most of these movements, and you can make adjustments as needed. And just find from here, so you kind of notice that we kind of shifted our center point. So now our center point is kind of a little bit more to an angle. And we'll take from here and just lengthening our arms up overhead. And we'll find some side-to-side gait movements. So we'll exhale, reach over towards the left side, and we get a lot of range of motion here. Inhale, we lift up. Exhale, we'll reach over towards the right side. So we are a little bit more limited here. And we'll continue. We're going to do each side one more time. So we'll inhale up, and we'll exhale, and hand comes over here behind you and lengthen long. So I kind of think of my left hand being kind of in the same plane as my right knee, just further behind. And then we'll inhale up, and we'll shift over to the right side. So mine's behind my heel here. And then we'll make our way up nice and tall. So again, we start here. So remember, we're kind of thinking about where our hips are pointing, and they're more towards this direction. So this is our starting point for our twist. So we'll start to slowly look over our left shoulder. And you can find just a little bit more twist by gazing further over your left shoulder. That's just going to get a little bit more in your head and neck. But this right hand just is here for support. We're not trying to press into our twist. We're going to do lots of them. So this is our first one. And then we'll make our way forward, nice and slow. And our head comes around last. And then we're going to turn to the right side. So remember, this is our starting point. So we're not going to be able to turn as much as we normally would. So I'm just going to kind of think about everything still kind of nice and straight. And then I'm going to look over my right shoulder. So you might get a lot of twist here, but we don't have a lot of movement to achieve that twist. In this left hand, just anywhere. My tinted fingers of my back hand is here for support behind me. And then we'll make our way up, back forward, head and neck last. So here, we're going to think about this right hand kind of extending out from the right knee. So kind of the center here, and I'm just going to lengthen my arm already because that's how I'm going to prepare myself. And then my left hand comes behind me for support. So we're going to kind of do the same thing with the gait, but we're going to open up in the front of the body instead. So we'll just start first with a little bit of movement. So we inhale, we lengthen. Exhale, we come back down. And we'll do that a couple more times. We inhale, we lengthen. Exhale, we come back down. We'll do it one more time, just like that, just to make sure we're getting good. I'm bending into my left elbow here as I shift back, just to make some space. Now this one, we're going to start to really ground into our legs. So start to get some strength into your legs. And this time, as you're doing it, we're going to lift here into our hips. So we're going to inhale, and we're going to lift our hips. And that one, let's just do a little bit. We don't need to be in a hurry. And you're probably not going to land right back down on your blanket, and that's okay. You might want to step your back hand just a little bit closer towards you because you kind of inch and shift as you do this. And we'll do that a couple more times. So when you're ready, so strong into your legs, so kind of press your legs down all the way into the feet. So we use all of that stability here. On the inhale, we lift up. And maybe we go a little farther this time. Exhale, we make our way back down. I'm going to adjust my back hand a little bit because I want lots of support. And then this time, we're going to stay up a little longer. So we'll inhale, we lift up, and don't feel you need to go too far. Exhale, we make our way back down. Pause here. We'll do one more. And we'll hold it a little bit more. Maybe you can get a little bit more length, but don't force it. Just allow it to happen. We can always do this video again. So when you're ready, we inhale, we lengthen. Nice and long. Oh, feels so good. So much length here. And we'll exhale. We make our way all the way down. Feels amazing. So then we pause here. So I'm completely off of my blanket. So if you want, whenever you start to shift to your other side, we can get back on blanket. But let's get our legs long for a moment and just kind of let our legs and hips kind of rest for a pause. And if you want to windshield wiper your feet from side to side, give me a little wave. Bye. And then you can point your toes and flex into your heels. And this back and forth movement. Inhale. And exhale as you do it. It doesn't matter when you breathe, just as long as you're breathing. And then let's start to think about the opposite side. So we started with ourselves on our blanket. So gosh, my blanket is all befuddled here. So I'm going to adjust it, sit back down. And then this time, left heel comes in, right foot comes in. So again, my left heel is just a couple of inches away from my left hip, and my right foot, it doesn't have to touch, it just, as long as it's in a good position here. And we'll just kind of pause and just kind of check in first. And so remember, our center point is a little bit more over on this direction now. So we're going to find our side-to-side gate pose. So we're going to think about it being a little bit more here than it is here, because this isn't where our hips are facing. So we want to think about it being this way a little bit more. So when you're ready, we'll lengthen arms up. We exhale, we'll reach over towards the right side. So this side's kind of the easy side. The inhale, we lengthen up. So maybe I'm going to use my hands to the front here and see how that changes how I feel. I like the stability of the hand on the inside of my leg, but you decide. And we'll exhale, we'll shift over to the opposite side. Inhale, we shift up. Exhale, we shift over. See, I like it on the inside better. And we'll make our way all the way up. So we start, again, with our hips facing over here and towards our right side, and we'll find our twist. So we're going to turn and look over the right shoulder to begin. And I have tinted fingers of my back hand. And we'll slowly start to inch our way forward. Head and neck comes around last. And we'll kind of find our, so remember we're started here. So now when we twist over towards the left side, we can't go as far as we usually can. We just look over our left shoulder. So hands for support, tinted fingers, back hand. And we'll make our way up nice and tall. And so from here, we'll start to find, so we did those gate poses, so we've already got that length from side to side, so we're kind of ready for this now. So we're gonna think about this arm kind of being in the same plane here as this extended leg or this bent knee, and then our right hand comes behind us. And I'm gonna do flat hand here, and just to start, we're just gonna start with some length. So we inhale and we lengthen up, and I kind of bend into my elbow, and we exhale back down. So we stay kind of in this plane here. So we inhale, we lengthen. Exhale, we make our way down. We'll do this one more time. So we inhale, we lengthen up. And I kind of bend into my right elbow here a little bit. Exhale, we make our way down. So this time we're gonna start to ground this weight into our legs. So we're gonna use legs for support. And I'm gonna bring my hand a little bit more in now. And as I lift up, so I'm gonna lift into the hips and lengthen my arm up. Exhale, make your way back down. So remember, we kind of shifted off of our blanket a little bit, so you might need to shift your hand as well, a little bit more inward. I'm just gonna abandon my blanket. And then from here, we're gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna turn my right thumb in just a little bit. I think that's gonna help with support in my shoulder. So when you're ready, we inhale, we lengthen up. Exhale, we make our way down. And then this one we're going to hold. So whenever you're ready, we inhale, we lengthen up. And we don't need to go too far. We've got another one to do anyway. Exhale, we make our way down. So if you need to make adjustments, feel free. I'll do one more when you're ready. Try to find that good position of my hands. So it's kind of sitting, so my thumb is pointed towards you. And when you're ready, we inhale, we lengthen up. And maybe you get a little bit more length this time. And we slowly make our way down. Excellent. So now let's shift left knee in, and we'll shift legs long for a moment. Just kind of get reacquainted. If you need the blanket under your hips again, that's always okay here. And we just kind of point into the toes and flex into the heels. Point into the toes and flex into our heels, back and forth. And then we'll bend our knees a little bit, and let's take our blocks and let's have them handy up here and kind of in the center, kind of right beside your legs. And then we'll shift this blanket off of our mat. We'll make our way to hands and knees for just a moment. And we'll find, let's do just a little cat-cow for just a moment. So take your blanket, kidding, just bring your blanket back on your mat, and we'll do just a little cat-cow series. So from here, we find wrist under shoulders, knees out of hips. We inhale, we find the light in the center of our chest forward. We exhale, we draw our chin in towards our chest. Our inhale, we shift forward, so we shine the light in the center of our chest forward. Exhale, we round. Exhale, we round. We inhale, we shift forward. Exhale, we round. So just continuing, just a few more here. And we'll start to find a nice neutral position. And we'll come down to a child's pose. So I'm just going to shift my blocks just out of the way so you can see better for you. So I just come down, forehead rests down, knees widen. And there's always this puppy option too. You can walk the fingertips further forward, forehead rests down here. You kind of might need to bring the knees back in a little bit if you widened them, if this is more of the variation that you need today. Then we'll slowly start to inch our way back up, and we'll start to take this blanket off of our mat. So I'm just going to roll it or fold it up, shift it to the side, and then we'll make our way, kind of walk your hands up towards the top of your mat. If you're familiar with downward facing dog and plank pose, then that's what we're going to do next. If you would rather just come to standing your own way because you're not really feeling good for this pose today, that's always okay. So when you're ready, we'll curl our toes under. We lengthen into our plank, so nice and sturdy and strong. We exhale, sink into the heels, sits bones high. And then let's walk our hands towards our feet. So bent knees as much as needed as we make our way here. And once you're kind of to where you can flatten your feet, you can widen your stance a little bit to make space for baby. And we'll just find a little forward fold here. So we have some options. So sometimes it's too much for us to have our head and neck just completely relaxed down, and that's okay. You can always bring hands to shins a little bit here, and that just kind of lengthen out, and that'll make a little bit more space for baby. But if you're able to, and you can always widen your stance as much as you need to achieve this forward fold, you do not have to stay on your mat the whole time. So let's find a few half lifts. So I'm going to bring my feet a little closer in, but you stay wherever you are. You can have wider feet than I do. On the inhale, hands to shins, straight spine. On your exhale, we fold. Inhale, hands to shins, straight spine. Exhale, we fold. One more time, hands to shins, straight spine. And we'll exhale and fold. Then we'll start to find one more time hands to shins, but we're going to come up real strong and with a real straight spine. So we're going to lengthen out through the crown of the head. So almost like we're kind of making a number 7 with our body, and bend into the knees. So hands come to our hips. So squeeze your shoulder blades together, unhinge, come to stand nice and tall, and pause for just a second. Anytime you have your head low for any duration of time, it's always okay just to take a second. So then once you're here, we're going to make our way to a wide stance. So we'll take our feet out wide, and we're going to take them pretty wide here. So I'm going to take my feet as pretty well as wide as I can without feeling like it's too far. And then I'm going to take my toes and I'm going to point them out, and I'm going to start to bend into my knees. So this is a goddess variation. So we want to feel like we're nice and stacked here. So we want to feel like our knees and our ankles are pretty well nice and lined up. And we're just going to kind of guess here. And then we'll find hands to the tops of our thighs, nice and strong. So this might be a really strong pose for you already. So this might need to be where you stop right here, this pose. And you can kind of draw up. So we kind of draw up with our pelvic floor and with our abdominal wall squeezing in as we bend a little further into the knees. If you feel you need more work, you can add arms here where we get real strong into our arms and shoulders here. So we'll slowly inch our way up, and you can kind of soften here. I kind of think about this like I think about labor, where we have work and then we have rest, but we have to start to come out of the work resting. So as we make our way out of the pose, we're already starting to relax. And where we're standing here, we're just going to be kind of relaxed. And that's kind of how contractions work. So you work and then you relax. And the relaxation is even better if we just kind of give into it, if you will. So hands to the tops of our thighs. We're going to do that again. So we're going to get strong into our feet and legs and top of our thighs. So drawing up on the pelvic floor, drawing in the belly muscles, and we're just going to keep going, stacking, strengthening muscles all the way to hands into our goddess hands. So you can kind of see my hands are even really kind of almost like I'm getting ready to grip something real strong here in my pose. So we're going to start to come up. So as I'm coming up, I'm going to soften. So that's kind of, again, how we think about coming out of a contraction when we're in labor. So we come out of our pose already starting to relax, and then we get more relaxed time. We'll slowly start to find, let's do one more. Just when we start to really feel good, we move on. So we'll start to do one more. So we get real strong into our feet and into our legs and the tops of our thighs. We kind of draw up and squeeze our belly muscles in so we're active here. And then we keep building up the strength all the way into our arms, into our fingers. Strong here. One more good breath. And we'll slowly start to come up. So you can kind of just use enough energy just to support yourself here. Don't really need anything more than that. Spell. And then we'll slowly start to shift our feet in. So now we're just at our kind of wide stance here, and kind of check in just to make sure that your feet are nice and parallel. So it's just a wide stance. And then we'll start to take our right toes and point them out. And then our left toes are going to kind of shift in. So we're shifting into a warrior two. So front knee and ankle nice and lined up. Bend into the front knee. Shift arms into a T position. From here, so we're nice and strong into our legs, strong into our feet. We're sturdy and strong here. Well, let's find back hand relaxes down, front hand reaches up. And we'll exhale. Let's make our way back down. So we'll go right back down to our warrior two. And then we'll slowly start to reach forward. Bend the arm at the elbow. Bring it down to the top of the thigh, extending top arm up. So be real strong into our front foot and legs. So we're going to take care of this extra added weight here into our bodies. So strong even into the front heel. And you'll notice as you get stronger into your legs and more active that you're going to get a little bit more movement, a little bit more openness just by adding some strength. Belly's going to stay really strong. We make our way back up to our warrior two. We'll let our arms relax down. We'll then start to turn, so you can unbend your front knee, turn your right toes in, and the left toes kind of shift back out, hands to your hips. So we don't have to worry about the position of our feet as far as how wide our stance is, because we're going to hinge at the hips and lead with the chest, hinge forward, your forward fold. And it doesn't matter, you can take both of your blocks if you'd like, or you can just take one, doesn't matter. Just find your forward fold here. Just relaxing down as much as you'd like. Then we'll start to come up to a nice straight spine. So we have our feet nice and wide. And then we'll start to find, so you can use both of your blocks as much as you'd like here. So I'm going to take and kind of use my blocks as little stilts. And I'm going to start to bend into my right knee. So I'm going to kind of shift into a little squat. So I'm going to kind of lift up onto my heel here. So then I'm shifting my weight into the ball of my foot and into the toes. And I'm just going to get a real good stretch along the inside of my legs. So you can stay right here. Or you can, if you'd like, you can point the toes up too. So it kind of depends on where you feel the best here. So meanwhile, so this is kind of a little bit more relaxed, but let's be a little strong into our hands, arms, and shoulders here. So just going to encourage more stability in our pose. And then we don't want to stay here too long, so we'll start to bring the toes down, and we're going to use the strength into our left foot, press out of your right, use your little stilts. We're going to shift, and you know, my right foot's a little bit asleep, so I'm going to pause just 1 second here. And then I'm going to start to walk my blocks over towards my left side, lifting my heel up. So at first, we started first with just the foot toes pointed towards you. You're pointing your toes towards me. And then we find, if you'd like, you can lift your toes up. So it depends on where you feel comfortable here. You can always bring one block on the other side of you. That might help you a lot better with stability. And you can kind of sit a little bit more up here, and that might be much more comfortable for you and baby. And we'll start to shift our way back out. So we start to shift the foot flat, and then we'll use strength in both of our legs to come back to our forward fold. We'll fold back down for just a moment. So when you're ready, we'll just hinge here and let the head and neck relax. And we make our way up nice and tall. So coming to that nice straight spine. So strong into your feet, belly starts to get strong. Bend a little bit into your knees. Hands come one at a time to your hips. Squeeze your shoulder blades together, unhinge, come to standing. And wait just a second. So we're never in a hurry to move into our next thing. And sometimes when you come up from being down, you might feel a little wobbly, so take a second. We always have time to pause. And I kind of move into poses pretty slow, so you can catch up with me pretty easily. When you're ready, we'll start to shift our left toes out, and we'll start to bend into our front knee and shift the back toes a little bit inward, so a little 45-degree angle. So our hips are open, your hips are open towards me. And then we'll start to get strong into our feet. I'm going to heel toe my stance just a little bit bigger, just lengthening it out long. And then we'll start to shift our arms into a T position. So just a couple of breaths here. So we want to think about center of wrist, center of shoulder best we can. Front knee and ankle nice and lined up. You can kind of see it this time. And strong into our legs. So you can kind of notice that by being a little stronger into your legs, you're kind of encouraging a little bit of a hip opener here on the inner parts of our hips. So we just adding on to the greatness of our pose. When you're ready, back hand relaxes down, lifting front hand up. And we'll exhale. When you're ready, we'll start to make our way back down to our warrior two. Then we'll start to reach forward, bend our arm at the elbow, bring it down to the top of the thigh, extend our top arm up. So lots of length here. So strong into our feet, really important here. So even our back foot. So check in the four corners of our back foot. Let's start to draw our belly muscles in. We'll really get strong into our legs, lift ourselves up. We'll let our arms relax down. And we'll turn our left toes in, kind of shift the right toes back out. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips. And then we'll slowly hinge at the hips and lead with the chest. We hinge forward again. So this time we can bring hands to our blocks and we can relax down. So if you only have one block, that's okay. One block works just fine. And I'm actually going to go to one block because we're going to do a twist in just a moment. So just kind of finding your little forward fold here. And slowly we'll start to make our way to a nice straight spine. I'm going to heel toe my stance in about an inch. And I'm going to add a good bend in my knees. And check in. So we want to find that our gaze is right down at the very center of our block. So it's right underneath of our eye gaze here is the center of our block. And my right hand comes to the top of my block. My left hand comes to the side. So we're going to stay nice and strong here. So start to draw belly muscles in. So you're kind of hugging baby in, lengthening out through the spine, bend in knees. We'll inhale and we'll just lengthen arms. Left arm extends. So we open up towards our left side for a twist. It doesn't have to be a big twist. It gets a lot of twist with not very much movement. On your exhale, we make our way down. We'll switch out our hands. Left hand underneath of your face, right hand to the side of our block. So we're going to keep this length here in our spine. And as we inhale, we lengthen up, open up. So it doesn't have to be very far at all. We get a nice stretch here as well as a little twist. And we'll exhale, we make our way back down. And we'll go back to relaxing down here. Then we'll start to bend into our knees. We're going to bring our hands one hand at a time down to the floor and one knee at a time come down to the mat. And we'll make our way, just if you want to sit in a kneeling position with me for a moment, or if you're ready to sit in a regular seat, that's okay. I'm just coming down for a moment, just so that we can kind of get used to being upright again. And then I'm just going to shift my blocks out of the way so that you can see me. And then we're going to I'm just going to turn my way over here so that I have myself facing forward again on my mat. So I have all this space that I need. And I'd like to do a downward facing dog with you. If you would rather do puppy or child's pose, though, I always recommend that as well. So we'll just walk our hands forward so that we have our wrist and shoulders nice and lined up. We'll curl our toes under. We'll lengthen to our plank. So that nice flat back of our body here. We're going to really make space, though, doming into the upper back near the shoulders. On the exhale, we'll slowly lift the sits bones high, sinking into the heels. And we'll slowly start to come down to hands and knees, and then we'll come down to a child's pose or a puppy. I'm going to go to puppy with you today, so I'm just going to lengthen my fingertips forward, forehead rest down. Slowly, we'll start to shift our elbows closer towards us. We'll make our way to a seated position, so the same position that we started with. So we'll find our way to just sitting on the edge of our blanket. And we'll find ourselves just kind of checking in here. And just kind of noticing what's different from when you got here today on your mat. And thanking your body for the work that it does in creating this beautiful baby. But also thanking yourself for taking time out of your day to honor what you need, to nourish your body. I'm going to bring our hands to our bellies and send our babies love. Your baby is lucky to have you. You will be an amazing mother to this baby because you already are. So thank you very much for joining me today. I always enjoy it. Thank you. And remember that I have other videos available for you, and whenever you click that subscribe button below your screen, that updates you when I have a new video and I try to have a new one out every week, but I just do the best I can. And if there's any comments that you would like to give me, I would love to hear from you as to how this is helping you through your pregnancy, or if you would like to see more of something. I always try to address the hips and low back, but anything else that you would need, I'd love to try, and it would be a great experience for us both. So thank you very much. Thank you.